Welcome. As you can tell by the playmat, I'm actually going to be using my Prankers playmat, probably for my deck profiles from now on, because then you don't have the zones on it. And also it means I can show off the fact that I have a Prankers playmat, which is one of my favourites. I never use it because I ain't got zones, unfortunately, but I do like this playmat a lot. But anyway, that's not today's video. Today's video is a dragonmaid deck profile. Now, I have been very interested in dragonmaids to begin with. I used to have a friend who played a lot of dragonmaids at the time when they first came out. And the playstyle always interested me. I just thought it was a bit too expensive for what it is. Since it got reprinted in Max Gold, my favourite rarity, it got cheaper. So not only is it cheaper, but it's in a better rarity in my personal opinion. Obviously, I can understand why people think the secrets and the supers are better, but I genuinely prefer this rarity. So with that, let's get into the deck profile with my newest deck. Also, I do have to mention before we get into the profile, this deck isn't to professional tournament standards. I say this every time, but again, as I've said, there's a lot of people who just search, oh, I want to make a dragonmaid, let's search dragonmaid deck profile, let's put the month in, and mine might show up and they might watch it that way. So just know that my profiles are never tournament, like they're never going to dominate a ton of tournaments. Although I did make a guy sigh in anger with this, so it's kind of good. So let's get on with it. First, we are running free chamber. Now, obviously, chamber is the best dragonmaid. It allows you to search a dragonmaid spell or trap. And it's not restricted to what dragonmaid it can summon from the field. So if you don't know how dragonmaids work, they bounce their little monsters back to hand to special summon monsters from that are higher levels from the graveyard or the hand during the battle phase. And then there's a ton of cards that either gain advantage from that or they, you know, help you do it, you know? So chamber is the best one out of it because it doesn't restrict which ones you can summon off of its effect, and it also does a really good effect, which is to search spell and trap, which in this deck all the spell and traps are good. So, you know, you do like that ability. Next, and this is where I'm going to get controversial, I'm running free Parlor, which is quite nice. Obviously, that's not the controversial bit. Parlor is restricted to level 8 dragonmaids, and also its effect is basically a Foolish Burial for any dragonmaid card, which is quite nice. So people do run that free for that reason. Free Kitchen. Kitchen basically searches a dragonmaid monster to hand, but you have to discard a dragonmaid monster from your hand. So it's good, but also there's the fact that you'd be searching just to discard the card that you search sometimes. So it's not ideal every time, but it is still a good card to search out, like Chamber, if you have an additional dragonmaid in hand. So it's nothing too bad. Next we have free Nurse. We're getting into the controversial bit because people only run like 1 or 2 of these normally. Nurse, in my opinion, is one of the better ones. I would even say Nurse is better than Kitchen at this point, because Kitchen searches your monsters, wonderful. But Nurse special summons one of these smaller ones from graveyard on its summon. And then the one that got summoned from graveyard gets its effect to go off. So basically what you do is you normal summon Nurse, get Chamber back from grave if you've used it in a fusion or whatever. Chamber effect to get a spell, use the spell, because there's a certain spell that you normally search. Use that spell and you just get yourself a ton of advantage off of it. So I do genuinely want to run 3 of those. This one is the most controversial though. Free Laundry. So Laundry isn't that good. Laundry is probably the worst out of all of these. But the reason I'm running free Laundry is the sheer fact of, I just want a ton of smaller dragonmaids because they are what makes this deck tick. So having more of them is never too bad. Obviously, if there's more better support cards later on, then yeah, I might lower Laundry out of all of them. But as it stands right now, Laundry is good as it is in its lovely rarity. Next, we're going into the bigger ones. I'm running 2 Ernest. So Ernest, so these are the big ones. So this is a level 7, so you can summon it off of these 2 or Chamber. So Earnest effect in hand is to discard it and special summon a dragonmaid from your hand, and it has to be one of these lower ones. But what's good about that is if you have that in hand and you have like Chamber and I don't know Parlor and you want both of them on the field, you just Earnest, get Chamber out, Chamber to get the spell, go into Parlor effect to send, and then the spell that you've added won't be wasted just on getting the Parlor out as well, which is really good. So yeah, Earnest is at 2 for that reason. Tinkek is at 2 because it's basically the honest of the deck. It's a level 8, so it can be summoned off of these 3. And it basically, as you attack, you can discard it from hand to increase their attack by 2,000. So, you know, all really good so far. Next we have Lawpar at 2. Now, Lawpar is basically a effect Veiler on your turn. And it's again level 8, so those 3. But what's really good about Lawpar is it's a wind attribute. Now, Parler's also a wind attribute, but having a wind attribute dragon, when there's a particular dragon that was banned ages ago that's no longer banned, is really good because you can discard this with it to search something, so it's really good. Next, we're only running one Nudgel, which is a level 7, so those 2, and that one. But Nudgel is basically just a Call by the Grave, but not a quick effect. That's not a quick effect either, but the fact that this is a quick effect just to banish from grave, and it doesn't even negate the effects of things that you banish, it's just a banish. It's one of the weaker ones out of all of them, to be honest with you. It looks nice in its secret rarity, but it's just one of the weaker ones out of the 2. Level 7, so I only run one of it to make room for other stuff. Talking of other stuff, Tempest. Tempest is the card I was on about. Basically, Tempest can recur itself from the grave by banishing 2 dragons, which in the mid-game, you're going to have a ton of dragons in the graveyard, so that's never a problem. But to force it into graveyard, even if you have it in hand, you can discard it and another wind attribute to search any dragon from your deck. Any. Which is really good. And so, yeah, I run Tempest for that. Plus, that's why I'm running Lawpar at 2 for the search ability. The only problem is with Tempest is the time that you use its search effect, you can't use its recursion effect, but you can just use its recursion effect the next turn. It's more for setting up, so it's not too bad. Next, we have a singular Red Eyes, because I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's still limited to 1. I'm playing it with the errata, because again, we don't officially have the errata over here yet, but I am going to be playing it with the errata because it still works for what it's supposed to do. So next we have the final monster, and one of the ones that you do sometimes search for the effect of Tempest, Phantasme at 3. It's basically a hand trap. If you don't know what Phantasme does, if your opponent link summons, you can special summon this from your hand. Bear in mind, it doesn't have to be the first link summon. And then you draw a card for every single card link monster they have on the board, plus 1. Then you send back to the deck, all 1 for each link monster they control. So you still get a plus 1, but also, well, technically it's neutral because you used 1 from your hand. But you get to choose which one you keep. So you could even get rid of stuff that was in your hand to begin with. And then I think it has like a negate effect while it's on the board, so it's quite nice. Plus, it's an additional dragon on board for later plays, so yeah, not too bad. So let me put all this away, because I just realised doing it this way has now made it so I have to clear up. Oh, Richard the Frodo Knife Boy is very smart. He is so smart. Oh my god, he is the smartest being on this planet. Oh, so smart. He is a smarty boy. So that's it for the monsters. We're now going to get into the spells. So, free Dragonmaid Hospitality. These are very difficult to come by right now. So, if you got them already because you bought them in the Mystic Fighters at the time, because they were fairly cheap originally, good on you. If not, be prepared to pay about 20 quid per copy now, which is ridiculous. But basically, it's a super rare that was not reprinted and was short printed in its original print. So that's why it's expensive. Plus, it's kind of a centerpiece for this deck now, because you can search it off of chamber. So what Hospitality does is it allows you to special summon from hand or grave a dragonmaid in defense position, and then send a dragonmaid of the same attribute but a different level to the graveyard. So what you would do is you'd like Hospitality back, I don't know, Parlor, effect of Hospitality to send a Law Par, and then effect of Parlor to send like Tidying or something. So Hospitality is really good because it's an extender. It's a hard once per turn, which doesn't help it 100%, but it's still extremely good for what it is. So it's a searchable Monster Reborn that also sends. So it's a mix between Foolish Burial and, you know, Foolish Burial and Monster Reborn, which is really good because they're both limited cards for a reason. Next, we have the Fusion spell at 3, Changeover. So Changeover basically allows you to fuse your Dragonmaids. It's searchable because it's a Dragonmaid card off of the effect chamber. And it has an additional effect of while it's in the graveyard, you can target a Dragonmaid you control, add it back to hand, and then add this back to hand. So it forces an add back to hand, which is good. It doesn't sound like it's good, but it is good for this deck. And then it allows you to fuse again, which is really nice. You can only use its add back to hand effect once though, but I'm pretty sure you can just use the actual spell itself multiple times. So again, really nice. Next we have 2 Welcome. You do want to see it, but you don't always want to see it. So it's more than likely going to be searched off of chamber. So it's a continuous spell that increases all your monsters' attack by 100 for every single Dragonmaid you control, which sounds okay on its own, but not amazing. But it also has an effect where if you control 2 or more Dragonmaids, you can add a Dragonmaid card from your graveyard back to your hand. That's really good, like exceedingly good. That's basically get Hospitality back for free. That's really good. But again, it's a continuous, you have to have 2 Dragonmaids. The whole thing is very prone to an MST even. Because MST would get rid of Welcome. And then Welcome, because it's a continuous spell, does need to remain on the field for its effect to go through. And then its other effect is when it's sent to graveyard, whether it be from field or deck, which I specify from deck because obviously Parlor, you can, all your Dragonmaids are unaffected by card effects for that turn, which is really nice. So it's a nice bit of protection. And the last final spell, I'm only running it at 1, is a single send-off, because as good of a card as it is, it requires you to have a hand. It requires you to, you know, it's only a turn 1 card. You don't really need to see it other than that. Maybe later mid-game if you have a hand set up and you really just want to screw your opponent over. But basically what it does is it targets a Dragonmaid on the field, adds it back to hand, and then you can special summon a Dragonmaid with a different name from your hand. Which sounds good, and it's why I debated running 2 of this. But it just, there's better cards than this that you can run in this deck. So I struggle to find a card to take out for it other than Laundry, and I don't want to take Laundry out for just another summon. So I keep send off at 1 for now. Again, this is not tournament ready. If it was tournament ready, you probably would take out Laundry for a second send off and also run like an Orcust engine or something. I don't know. Next, we're into the traps and free Tidying because it is the best trap. So basically, Tidying, when it's on the field's effect, can allow you to send a dragon card from your side of the field back to hand and a card your opponent controls back to their hand. So basically, if they summon, I don't know, say they're playing Psy-Frames and they got Gamma onto the field, you just Tidying their Gamma back to hand and then they can't do anything because they have a driver, and that's it. It also has a graveyard effect of when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to special summon a Dragonmaid from your grave or hand. And what's really good about that is it's a lot of cards that do that sort of thing specify not the turn it's been sent. That doesn't. So even if you send it that turn, you can use its effect to special summon a Dragonmaid, which is really good. Because again, all the Dragonmaids have effects on summon. They all allow themselves to add back to hand to go into bigger beat sticks. It's really good. And then our final card of the main is Downtime. Downtime is good. I'm not going to say it's bad, but again, like Send Off, I don't really think it's good enough to warrant more than one. But it's a good card because basically it's a continuous trap. So again, prone to an MST or what, even an MST. But what it allows you to do is target a dragonmaid and add it back to hand. And you can either send a spell and trap your opponent controls back to hand, or search a dragonmaid from deck. Which, again, isn't bad. Isn't bad at all, because searching a dragonmaid without the discard effect off of Kitchen is amazing, but it's a trap, so it's fairly slow for that. So you mostly use it for the removal, and then the removal is nice, but again, it's a continuous, it's open to a single negate of any kind, including an MST. Any kind of spell and trap removal kind of screws that over, so it has its ups and downs, basically. Next, we're going to go into the extra. We're going into free house. Reason being is house is extremely easy to summon. It's literally a dragonmaid and a dragon. Doesn't specify what dragon or anything, so it's extremely easy to go in. And this is how you mainly punish your opponent by sending back to hand. So if you send a dragonmaid back to hand, this targets a monster your opponent controls and pops it. So this is your main punisher for your opponent, letting you to add back to hand, which is really nice. Next, we have our next dragonmaid fusion, and this is a free of because it's just too good. Shayu. Now you could run it at 2 because it does recur itself, but I tend to think having 3 so I can constantly go into it if they get rid of a recurring effect or whatever is really good. So Shayu basically is a dragonmaid and a level 5 or higher dragon. So it wants you to use your bigger dragonmaids, but obviously I'm running Tempest and that, so I can use Tempest to fuse into this. Ha ha ha, he he he. And what it does is basically when your opponent activates a monster effect, a cut spell effect, or a trap effect, you can send this back to extra deck, negate, and then special summon a house from extra deck. So that's why I said this is extremely easy to go into, because not only can you fuse it easily, but Shayu gets it out, which is really nice. And the thing to note is, because these are still dragonmaids, even though they're extremely high level, because Chamber Dragonmaid doesn't have a restriction other than it has to be above level 7, you can special summon these from graveyard with the effect of Chamber in battle phase, which is nuts. Because basically your opponent goes, yeah, I finally got rid of that Shayu. Chamber, battle, Chamber back to hand, Shayu. Also, Shayu has an effect during the standby. Well, both of them have effect in standby. So house, if you target a dragonmaid you control, you can special summon from hand or graveyard a dragonmaid that is 1 level higher or lower than it, which is good, but not always practical. But then you have Shayu, who basically goes, lol, it's standby phase, special summon any dragonmaid you want. From hand or grave. Just do it. It is the fusion monster this deck needed because, oh my god, it makes it so consistent, and I love it. Next, we're going into the links. We're running 1 LP, 1 Pitsy, and 1 Heraldic. This is basically your Guard Dragon combo, which is quite nice. So this is why you're running Metal as well, because Metal is the best LP target. But again, 9 times out of 10, to be fair, I go into Heraldic and I don't go into the Guard Dragon. So again, if you build the deck differently, you're able to, you know, go into Guard Dragon plays more and da-da-da. But I like this being a fun build, so they're there if I can go into them, but it doesn't affect me if I can't, you know? And Heraldic is just all-round good because it's a send back to hand for your opponent, and then it allows you to summon a dragonmaid from deck and use the dragonmaid's effect like Chamber or Nurse. So it's really good. Next, we have the rest of the link. So we have a Beat Cop for the Guard Dragon plays, because Beat Cop, if I've already used Heraldic Seal and I think, oh, I can go into Guard Dragons now, I can use Beat Cop and then same for Cross Sheep, but Cross Sheep is more for the fusions. So I put a Cross Sheep down, put a fusion there, effect of Cross Sheep to special summon a dragon, one more monsters from grave, and then the effect of that monster when it's special summoned, all that stuff. Next, we have our Nightmare Unicorn. you always want to bounce. Like, Unicorn's pretty much a staple in every extra deck that can get a link free out now, because it's just disrupt your opponent, screw them over, haha, hee hee. Next we have our Brawl Load, because being able to take your opponent's monster and decrease their attack by 500 is always good. And you can fairly easily get into a ranked link 4, to be fair. Next we got Saruya, for the same reason, plus it allows you to basically search a deck for a dragonmaid you don't have that you want, or a spell or a trap that you really want but you had no other way of getting into, so not too bad. And then we have our Appaloosa, which is, again, I don't think I need to explain that. It's just an Appaloosa. Link 4, negate 4 effects in a chain, like in different chains. Like, it's crazy. So we have our dragonmaid deck profile done. Hope you guys enjoyed. As I said, if you want to build dragonmaids competitively, this isn't the video to follow. But if you want to build a fun still wins variant, this is your video. I've been having a lot of fun with this deck since I bought it. I haven't done a deck profile until now because I was waiting on my hospitalities to turn up. My hospitality turned up this morning, finally. So I was able to make the profile. And yeah, and one thing I like about this, as much as I'm taking what's called an anime hiatus at the moment. So I'm not watching any animes, and I haven't since February of last year. I probably won't watch any for a while still. But what I will say is it's very interesting that Kayabashi's, or I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm really sorry that I butchered it there. But the anime about the maids that are dragons, this, as much as people go, oh, it's just a coincidence. No, this is genuine. The guy who wrote that and did the art for that came into Konami and helped them make this archetype. Because it's a genuine nod to that anime, which is really, really lovely. Which means we might even see more stuff like that in the future. And that excites me a lot. Because not only will we get more decks with weird playstyles, but we'll also get decks based off good animes. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. And I will see you all in the next one. And the next one, I already know which one I'm going to do next. And I warn you, it'll be a bit... I don't know how to like do a weird teaser without basically telling you what it is. So just look forward to it. Have fun.